also welcome our remote audience that is here from across the globe, which is kind of a neat thing and something that we kind of went around and talked about doing, and we kind of rolled the dice and said, you know what, let's do it. Just because you can't come NAFSA does not mean that you can't attend this session. So that's what we wanted to accomplish, and so we have cameras, as you can see, that are set up throughout. So you guys are again part of the Google Hangout. We're also on the session, and what I want to make sure that we get across is Google Hangouts can be pretty simple to do when you're talking to an audience, and typically you're just talking to a remote audience. So there was a little delay in starting because we had a few technical challenges, but that's what it takes to talk to both a live audience as well as a remote audience. I feel like the game show host that's up here. I have to remember to talk to the TV, and I also have to remember to talk to you guys as well. So that's what we're doing today, is we said if we're going to do a Google Hangout session, let's do it live, and let's invite other people to attend. The other neat thing about this is once this is done, this is automatically, as soon as it's over, this is going to go to YouTube. So it's going to be searchable content. So we are actually creating good, relevant, useful content within this session that can be viewed and used later, and we'll talk a lot about that as we go. So I'm going to just go through now and introduce everybody that's on the panel here. So my name is Don Sears, and I am the Director of Sales for Envisage International. I have a background, an extensive background in online marketing, so Google and Google Hangouts is just a natural for me to come up here and talk about. I did about 10 years with a company called WeatherBug, which is an online weather player, and been with Envisage now for about 4 years. So one of the questions I always like to ask, are there any other meteorologists in the room? No? Okay, I was just checking. Now I'm going to let Tori introduce herself, and then we'll get going.
Hi everyone, I'm Victoria Truppi, or Tori for short, so feel free to call me whatever you prefer. I am a marketing manager at Envisage International, and I've been with them for about 4 years now, specializing in online marketing and insurance.
And my name is Karen Lee, and I'm the Director of International Relations at the International Institute at Mississippi State University.
My name is Alita Anthony, and I'm the Associate Director for International Student Recruitment at the State University of New York Brockport, located right outside of Rochester, New York.
And I'm Emil Gallant. I'm the Director of Technology for Envisage International.
Excellent. So we'll go ahead and get started. First, I'll tell you a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. We'll start with the agenda. I'm first going to go over a little Google Hangout 101. And really explain to you what a Google Hangout is, a little bit about how to set one up, and then tell you why they're useful and why we've decided to use them at our schools and in our company. Then Karen Lee is going to go ahead and talk about Mississippi State and how she uses Hangouts. Alita Anthony will talk about SUNY Brockport and how they utilize Hangouts at their university. And then Dawn will come back up here and tell you a little bit more about Envisage International and how we use Google Hangouts almost every day. Then we're going to take a little bit of time at the end of the session to have a Q&A round where we'll answer questions both live here with you audience members, and we'll get questions from our remote audience as well, so we'll be able to answer those at the end of the session. So if you have any of those, keep them in mind, and we'll do that once we're done here. So to start it all off, I'm going to show you a short, about a 3-minute video. It's a little montage of Hangouts that we've done, both with some schools and at Envisage International for timely events like tax season, for example, and also true resources that we use on our sites, like information about F1 visas and how to find a school in the U.S. and other types of topics. So we'll start with that and then Hangouts. Just a second.
Hello everyone to our Google Hangout. I'm here to tell you more about the state.
grab it up. Window.
Sorry, just a second.
And, that's PowerPoint next to it. And I'll drag it onto
Hello, everyone.
one of those
Thank you
screens.
for joining us today for our Google Hangout. I'm here to tell you more about the State University of New York Brockport. We have a rich history and tradition. We began in 1835. We have been recognized as part of the Jackson and Long Beach by the Houston Review, Best Regional University by US News and World Report. We're listed in the top 100 for best values in public colleges by Career Personal Finance. And we're also listed in the guide to 311 new colleges.
Hi, this is Lynn. I'm a transfer student from China, and this is my second semester at Brockport. And my major is computer science and computer information system. And today I would like to share my own reason why I choose Brockport and why our school is the best option to come.
So, we have some questions coming in. The first question is, do you have a master's in related to music, radio, or production? I'm from Columbia and have a bachelor's degree in social communication and journalism. Thank you for your question. At the master's level, we have a program in general communication. You can have a concentration then in journalism and that, but for those areas, it would be our master's of communication.
Hi everybody, and thanks for joining us today for our International Student Hangout series, where we bring international students together with quality U.S. colleges and universities to promote higher education. Today we're going to be joined by the Director of International Relations at
Well, hello everyone. My name is Karen. I'm really excited to talk to you a little bit about Mississippi State University. Mississippi State is
There's nothing
Nothing on the screen, Tori.
We have a little bit over 20,000 students, I think over 21,000 students. So, but what's important to
I can't
know
even
is
see it.
that we offer some of the majors that are important to you. There are over 80 of them. And one thing that I really want you to take away from this Google Hangout is that Mississippi State
Is that what you
offers
said?
the exact same scholarship opportunities as we do to our American students. Now we're going to move on to the next question. This is from Bush, and he wants to know that GMAT is required, or she, I'm sorry, required as mentioned on your website that this is compulsory. Well, actually, required means compulsory, so yes. If it says that you have to have a GMAT, then you have to have a GMAT.
And today we're going to give you sort of an inside look at studying inside the U.S. as an international student. So let's go ahead and we'll dive into the first one, the finding a bank. So you might be wondering, why do I have to have a bank account whenever I go to the U.S.? Because I already have my debit card that I'm going to be bringing from home. And today we're going to be talking about Hello, thank you for joining us today on our Hangout and to talk about U.S. college degrees. I'm Brian Davis with International Student. You can find us on internationalstudent.com.
So that's that. Let me see if I can find my PowerPoint again here. Here we go. As we mentioned, it's a little bit hard to do both audiences, so bear with us. Let's see. Is there any way to see both?
Yeah, switch to, okay.
There we go. So now we'll go ahead and get started, and I'll tell you a little bit about Google Hangout 101. So what is a Google Hangout? So the video we just showed you, it kind of gives you a look at what a Google Hangout can be. Basically, it's just a free instant messaging and video chat platform developed by Google. It's integrated into all of Google's other apps, and really, as you can see, it's It's a very good video platform to use. The Hangouts work on computers as well as mobile devices like Android and Apple, so you can connect with nearly everyone. Anyone can attend a Google Hangout on air, but Google users are the only ones that can actually post questions or RSVP for an event. So this includes people with a Google Plus profile or a Gmail account. So there are actually two types of Hangouts that are available. The first type is a regular video Hangout, which is like kind of like a private one-on-one video call. Although it is available for up to 10 participants, and it's good for people to be able to be face-to-face when they chat with each other, kind of like FaceTime on Apple devices. So this is really perfect for long-distance meetings and other communications that you might need that have just a few participants. The second type of Hangout is really the one that we'll be talking about today. It's called a Hangout on Air. And Hangout on Air has no limit to the number of viewers that can be on the Hangout. And basically, it's a live broadcast with presenters, either one or multiple presenters, and then an audience of people who are viewing but cannot speak or be seen in the actual Hangout. That's what we're doing here today. And this is what we primarily use to build content for our sites and to help promote our schools. So during a Hangout on Air, the remote audience, as I mentioned earlier, can actually submit questions, and then the presenters would answer those questions as they go along. So the Hangouts on Air are very, very useful for things like webinars, tutorials, question and A sessions, like we'll be doing today, panel discussions, and demonstrations. This is similar to, a go-to meeting or something like that. So how do you set up a Google Hangout? And first of all, I just wanted to get some common questions out of the way. First, you can start a Google Hangout from Gmail, Google+, your profile, or from the Chrome desktop app, as well as on your mobile devices. So there's a lot of ways that you can actually start one. I'm going to go ahead and show you an example today, how you would do one in your Chrome browser, just using your Google+ page. And keep in mind that you can start a Hangout with anyone you'd like as long as the person has a Google account. If they don't have an account, don't worry. It just sends an email to that person's regular email account asking them to either download the Hangout application onto their phone or they can download the application in their browser. So this is a screenshot of our internationalstudent.com Google Plus page. And just to give you a quick example, over on the right-hand side of the screen, actually your left, you can see the Hangout option near the bottom there. So all you would do is open up the menu and click down on Hangouts. And that would open up a screen where you can choose to start either a video Hangout or a Hangout on Air. So you could choose either one. For this example, we're doing a Hangout on Air, like I mentioned. And then it's really this simple. It tells you to give your Hangout a name. So you can call it anything you wanted related to the topic that you're going to be talking about. You can give a short description of what the Hangout is about. And you can either start the Hangout right away, or you can schedule it for later. And then you can choose your audience. So for our Hangout, for example, we're releasing it to the public. So anyone online can view our Hangout. And that's what makes it upload directly to YouTube when we're done here. If you are trying to speak with a specific audience, you can also narrow it down, make it a private Hangout with only specific people being invited. So then all you would do is click the green button at the bottom, which is Start, and your Google Hangout will either start automatically or at a later date. You would log in and start the Hangout at your scheduled time. So what are the benefits of Hangouts on Air specifically? And really the benefits are that it's a live interactive event because the audience is able to submit questions and you're able to answer those questions face to face. And so for our purposes, since we're all working with international students in different ways, it's really a great opportunity to be able to connect with those students on a personal level. We can't be traveling to every single country when we're recruiting or whatever it may be. And we may need to reach people that are in multiple countries. And so this is a really good solution for that. Another reason and benefit of the Google Hangouts is giving a face to your brand or your school. Instead of just a logo, someone can view a Hangout and really relate you as a person to that company and really gain people's trust that way. Additionally, Google Hangouts allow you to get your message across to a worldwide audience. Unfortunately, Google Hangouts are not available in China or Vietnam, but everywhere else in the world they are available. And lastly, as I mentioned, once this Hangout is done, as long as it's a public Hangout, it's automatically recorded and uploaded to your YouTube channel. So it allows you to have longer lasting content that can be viewed over and over again, and you can use for your own content and reasons. So really, Google Hangouts are useful for two reasons. First, to increase your overall web presence with the long-lasting YouTubes on video, videos on YouTube rather, your worldwide reach, and the videos themselves are searchable on Google. So if someone were to Google something related to that topic, they could find you that way. And secondly, it's a really great communication tool that we can use that personifies your school by offering a face-to-face interaction. It gives specific information to your target audience, allows question and answer and the interactivity, and it allows you to collect further contact information with students so that you can contact people later. And lastly, you can add viewers on when you're using Google Plus and be able to remarket to them again and keep in contact with these people. So now I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Karen Lee. She's going to start telling you a little bit about how we use Hangouts and how we use them in tandem with Mississippi State.
I have to tread carefully here. I don't want to upset anything. So as I introduced myself, I'm Karen Lee, and I'm the Director of International Relations at the International Institute at Mississippi State. That sounds really big, but I just wanted to throw in, at Mississippi State, the International Institute is kind of like the hub for everything. Study abroad, everything, research, so it's kind of nice. Let me go to it. Okay. Now, I'm a recruiter, international relations, recruiting, that's what my job is, that's what my office does. And let me tell you, the first obstacle that I face, I live in the state of Mississippi. I not only have to market my institution, I have to market the state of Mississippi. So what I do is I make sure that my international students know that Mississippi is more than a river, because that's all they know. Now, last year, our football team did something amazing. We were the #1 football team in the entire country for 5 weeks straight. I cannot tell you how great it felt to be known for something else as #1 other than obesity and poverty. That was great. But there are tangible benefits from this too. Our domestic enrollment class for this incoming fall is through the roof. The largest, we expect the largest ever. Unfortunately, that does not translate to international enrollment. We are still under 5%, so I'm aiming to change that. And Google Hangouts are one of those tools for me. So, I'm sorry, I'm going right along. So last fall, Don asked me, did you want to try a Google Hangout with me? Naturally, I said, yeah, I want to try that. And my experience was pretty neat. First of all, they sent me all the equipment. That was such a load off my mind, because you know how it can be when you have a computer and then you have a microphone and you have to connect it and it might not fit and that. They sent everything. All I had to do is follow instruction, 1, 2, whatever. Very easy. I could do it. Anybody can do it. Trust me. But also I have to say, I was not completely unfamiliar with Google Hangouts. I do have a Google account. I've used Google Hangouts privately before, and so it was not all new to me. But what we did with this particular Hangout, I invited a undergraduate student from India who's pretty outgoing, kind of like me, to come and join me. And we kind of had a plan on how to go along. We kind of wrote it out, what are we going to do? But we did not want to sit in front of a webcam and just talk. So what we did is we had kind of a conversation. I would ask Nandita questions and she would answer back. So Nandita, how was it when you first came to Mississippi State? Was it easy for you to find an apartment? Things like that. So that went over pretty easy. We actually forgot we were on camera, which brings me to some of my tips for you. Don't forget you're on camera. When I see the YouTube video, all I know is I have a huge head because I sat really close in front of the webcam and I totally forgot. So I was really shocked when I found that out. So tip number 1, move back. Okay. Tip number 2, when you get the questions that are coming in from your remote audience, don't forget to read them out loud. You have to read everything. Sometimes it's hard when they have funny names and things, but read everything. Third one, have some key stats handy when you do your Google Hangout. They're going to ask you a question. How much is tuition? Blah, blah, blah. How much is the TOEFL? How much whatever? Just have that stuff right there handy. But at the same time, don't go into detailed questions. They want to know all kinds of weird things. Can I get admission into your electrical engineering department in fall 2000, whatever? No. Tell them if they have more detailed questions, they can just email you and you'll get back. So that's perfectly fine. And the last thing, just have fun with it. I mean, it is a remote audience, so, it's not too bad. So, these stats were actually collected by Envisage because at that time, we did not have a working CRM. We really didn't keep track of anything. We're working on that right now, so pretty soon I will be able to do things like that. But that's really a benefit to you. They give you these stats and you can figure out, was this Google Hangout that you just did effective? So that's pretty cool. And remember, the Google Hangout lives on in YouTube forever. Oops, did I go backwards? No, I didn't. Okay, so going back to what we just heard, the Google Hangout is live forever. Can you imagine this Tuesday, somebody came up to me and said, I know you. I saw you on YouTube in a video. And I was like, oh my God. So be careful with that. I'm sure that dude had nightmares forever. So, about some of the stats that I can do, that I'm able to give you. We did have an application increase that translated into an admission increase as well. We now have more than 110 admitted undergraduate students at our institution versus 60 the year before. Now, this is not all due to the Google Hangout, but it did play a role. And also, what I wanted to tell you is, in September, I'm going to be planning another Google Hangout with Envisage, and this time I'm going to have a targeted audience, and I'm going to have the CRM in place to make it so much easier for me to follow up, do emails, all that stuff. communication plan, because everything I'm doing now is with spreadsheets, and let me tell you, I hate spreadsheets. It's not a good thing. And also, something a little different, on June 21st, actually this couple weeks from now, actually I'm doing this right now while I'm here, I'm working with some of my graduate and undergraduate students that are going back to India. And they are going to have a reception in a banquet hall in Pune for me. These are admitted students that we're going to be hosting. And I'm going to join them with a Google Hangout. So that is a targeted audience. And I'm going to do this on my own. So this is what I think Tori was talking about. You know, there are different ways that you can use a Google Hangout. So this is yet another example. I can do that without any help, so hopefully. Okay. So with that, I want to show you another thing that I've accomplished with this Google Hangout. Actually, my Indian student kept repeating a phrase over and over during the Hangout. That is now my marketing phrase. And so at Mississippi State, she kept saying, you get a quality education and a real American experience. I thought this was great, so I'm using it. So with that, I'm going to say, go dogs, and I want to hand it over to my colleague, Alita. Thank you. Still said it wrong.
Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Alita Anthony from the State University of New York. Get our slides here. And I just wanted to give you a little bit of a snapshot of what our university looks like, and then how we were using our Google Hangouts as a part of our strategic plan for international student recruitment. So Brockport is part of the State University of New York system. We're a comprehensive university with bachelor's and master's degrees. We have just about 8,300 students, and that is primarily undergraduate students. So we have about 7,100 undergraduate students. Since I have joined Brockport, when they first began their strategic plan and had upper administration support for international recruitment, we've been able to triple our numbers. So we now have about 120 international students at our campus, and being able to use technology is a really great part of being able to add that to our strategic plan and to help our student population grow. The way that our office is structured is we have just 2 full-time staff that work through the whole recruitment, admissions, ISSS, programming, all of that. So I know that all of you probably know that can get to be more than a 40-hour work week. And so looking for different ways that we can supplement and get extra support or reach more students when you don't have a lot of physical people in the office to do that is great. So as part of our strategic plan, we are hoping at some point in the future, we want to reach 10% of our student population to be international. So there's lots of different ways that we're working towards that goal, and definitely using technology and the Google Plus Hangouts is a part of that plan. So with the Google Hangout, as everyone has mentioned, it's an opportunity to really reach people all over the world. Before, we had tried to do some different things with Skype or other devices to try to have some live things. In the summer, we used to do some sessions, but you really had an issue with the technology, the limitations of the technology. It didn't live on. Once that session was over, it was over. We couldn't have as many people there as we wanted, and so Google Hangouts has really solved a lot of those problems for us, and it's been a great addition. So for future Hangouts, we would like to do some more specific sessions. Our first session was just really a general hangout about the features and benefits of our institution. We also had a current international student that sat with us to answer questions and give the student perspective. So we'd like to look at doing scholarships. You can do just the admissions process, academic majors to bring in faculty, and then also about student life and campus. So you can really tailor this to being as broad or as specific as you want it to for whatever your goals might be. So again, as I mentioned, we just did a general features and benefits. Our student really focused on what the admissions experience was like for her. And then she had some great relationships with her faculty. And so she focused on those and highlighted the opportunities that she was able to have. So far, we've had great feedback from viewers that have seen it, that have given us messages or that we've seen. I recently was in Nepal doing some presentations, and one of the students, I met with her and her family, and she said, I knew it was you because I saw you from the Google Hangout that I watched. And I had no idea that she had seen it, but that was one of the ways that she was researching schools. So that told me, which I know all of us hear social media all the time, but when you hear it from a student, that's one of the main ways that they're researching the schools that they choose. So that was really exciting. So the numbers that are there, and really you can see that they really speak for themselves. Just doing, a half-hour session was able to us to reach that many people. We've had, since then, we've still had over 700 views of our Hangout. That's then generated over 2,000 hits to our profiles. We know that students watched that, they got interested, and then I went on to get more information. And then beyond that, inquiry. So that's really helping with that admissions funnel, getting more people to help your conversions. And that's it for me.
Well, hello again. So I'm going to talk Envisage and how we use Hangouts to reach our audience of international students. So just a little background on Envisage. Envisage is our corporate brand. That's really kind of our, what I call B2E or B to educator type of brand. And probably some of you get our newsletter and some of the other correspondence that we send out. So we really use Envisage to communicate with you all. Our two sort of B to S, I don't know if that sounds right or not, but B to student brands are internationalstudent.com, which is a free resource for international students that want to study in the US, as well as our international student insurance brand. So these are both our business to student types of brands. So what I'll talk about today is really internationalstudent.com and how we're using that to reach students and how we use the Google Hangouts to do that. So when we look at a Google Hangout and why we decided to do them, our goal really as a company is to produce relevant and compelling content, whether it's video, whether it's written, whether it's a Google Hangout. So relevant, compelling content and timely content that can really be a true resource for international students. That's really kind of our mission. And then we take it a step further. We want that content to be able to be found whenever and wherever students are looking for it. So as an example, when we do a tax hangout, it's very timely during tax season, but it also lives forever, as we've mentioned several times up here today, so students can look at that really whenever they want to. So that's kind of our goal, and when we start doing hangouts, when we do any hangout, whether it's a recruiting one or a tax one, we always try to keep that kind of mentality in mind, relevant content that is going to be useful and students will be able to find them. So kind of going back to what Tori said earlier, why do we use them? Really because it's live interactive content. And she said that, and I just mentioned it again, but what it does is it gives a face to internationalstudent.com. It's not just them coming on and reading about how to get a J1 visa. They're looking at Brianna in our studio and really being able to put a face to our website. So it gives us more credibility as well. It also has grown our YouTube channel tremendously. We went from getting several hundred people that are viewing our YouTube channel to tens of thousands of folks that are now watching our YouTube channel as well, because they're automatically uploaded to that channel. It's also content that we can use over and over and over. So we did a tax video back in March, or a tax hangout. Well, now we have the ability to email that out or use it socially or put it in different places on our website where it's relevant so students can find it. It also becomes searchable on Google. Google and YouTube are now the same giant conglomeration. So with Google's technology, I call it Google Magic. It's automatically uploaded to YouTube, just as we mentioned. This will be uploaded to our Envisage channel. as well. And then it also goes to another mission of ours, which is to really be the go-to resource for international students that want to study in the US. So moving on, how do we use the Hangouts? There's kind of three categories that I lump this into. And the first is what both Alita and Karen talked about, and that is directly recruiting students. So really a sales pitch to students on why your university is the university that they want to study in. The other one would be the timely communication. So things that have a date, a hard date. So application deadline is X. How do you apply to the university? Tax time for people to start applying for their F1 visas. And that's a timely type of communication. And the other are really just pure resources that would be out there. So things like how to choose the right school. So we'll drive them to our USA school search, and we'll do a Google Hangout on how to use that. So three kinds of buckets that we look at when we're doing a Google Hangout. The other thing is, and so here's some other kind of examples. So we also, once we've created a Hangout, we have different places that we put them. So we have now a Hangout resource guide on internationalstudent.com. So these are a few of them that we've done. We showed some examples earlier, but US College Degrees Explained. If you're an international student, and we see it all the time in a form they fill out, they say that they want a master's or a graduate degree, and they skip the fact that they need a bachelor's degree before they do that. So just things like that. What's an associate's degree? What's a master's degree? The college application, tips for success. So what we do with these, they're maybe 10, 20 minutes max, just long enough to give them the relevant information that they need. I mentioned the taxes. And then we also have some of our other ones on here that's like the Hangout with Mississippi State, Hangout with SUNY Brockport, Hangout with Hiram College. So we do a lot of these for direct recruiting. But what we've done is we've given it a home on International Student where we can drive people to, and through our marketing efforts, whether it's email, whether it's social, they now have a home where they live and they can be found. So what are some of the strengths of us and internationalstudent.com? What do we do well with Hangouts? Well, I'd say the first is we have an on-site studio. And when I say an on-site studio, it's actually my old office. I got kicked out of it, and I was a little nervous at first. But it's a small office that we converted into a studio. So we have lights, we have a green screen, which is really cool, and we have a camera. So we spent a couple $1,000s on the studio and made it nice so we can do some really neat, professional looking Google Hangouts. And we also have in-house technical support. That's Emil that's sitting next to me. And like I said earlier, the Google Hangouts that you all are doing with just a remote audience are much simpler than the production that's going on here. But we do have the in-house technical support to help support the ones that we're doing with schools as well. And we have marketing tools and expertise. So we have a large email list, 350,000 international students that are on our email marketing list. We reach 6 million international students on internationalstudent.com. So when we're doing a Hangout, we can cast a wide net. So if we're doing one on taxes, it might not be relevant to everybody, but it's going to be relevant to a lot of people that we're able to market to. And we continually adapt, just as Karen said that she had a very large head in her video, in her Google Hangout. We've adapted and we've changed. One of the very first Hangouts we did, we sent a microphone to the school and they had to pass it back and forth, and it caused some distraction, distortion, and those types of things. So we adapt and we've made them better and better and better over time. So what is our process in putting together a Google Hangout? And this could be for any of those three kind of buckets. This could be for a school, this could be for a tax Hangout. We start our marketing typically about 3 days before. We feel that that is really kind of the sweet spot in driving the maximum attendance and hitting the right audience. And then it lasts about 2 days after, because once you've done a Hangout, you have the ability to email or social and push the YouTube video out then. The content Hangouts average anywhere from about 15, maybe even 10 to 20 minutes, depending on the topic. Our Hangouts with the schools are typically a little bit longer than that because you want to allow for time for questions. We always make sure that there's multiple staff involved. So as an example, there's multiple staff in this one. We have Emil from a technical standpoint. We also have people back at home in our home office that are watching this. Unfortunately, nobody's texted us saying we can't hear it or the volume's not working. So we make sure that we have multiple people at different levels that are making sure that they're paying attention, because we can't see what's happening on the other side of the camera when we're out here talking. So we want to make sure that other people are doing that as well. And the green screen allows for customization. Now this is just a screenshot from one of the videos that you saw earlier. That's really a green screen that she's standing in front of. And we've added the layer of text and the flag over it. This is one that we did with McNeese State, where Victoria looks like she's standing in their student union. She's not in the student union, she's standing in front of our green screen, but it's seamless to the end users. So those are just some of the cool things that we have been doing on the Google Hangouts. So just focusing real quick on the marketing piece, what we bring to the table and some of the things we have is email marketing. This was, I believe, the first email that we sent out for the Hangout that we did with Karen. So sending it out and saying, hey, hang out with Mississippi State. It's starting soon. So make sure that you log in, share it with your friends, those types of things. So this is how we drive attendance. We also do it through social media. Google is a part of Google Plus, at least for now, or the Google Hangouts are. But we also market it via social media, via Facebook, via Twitter, via other methods as well. And we do newsletters. We have a large newsletter audience. And we do it through banner ads also.
As you push Mr. Wade just a smidge.
So after the Hangout, they also, as we mentioned, they live on YouTube. And we had talked about with Alita, has been viewed over 700 times, one with Mississippi State over 300 times since we did it. And they go on our International Student YouTube channel. And again, they're searchable as well. We also put them on internationalstudent.com, exactly where I showed you earlier. And we put them on the school's website. We'll send that over to Karen and she can post it right on Mississippi State's website as well. Since it's a YouTube video, it's very easy for us to email market or send out to different people or different students. I mean, we also put it on the feature profile that we have set up on the website. So that kind of sums up how we use it as a company. I wanted to put this slide out. Everybody should recognize this. This is the enrollment funnel. And just talk a little bit, and then we'll address the questions. Really, from our perspective, how can you use Google Hangouts to help drive students through this funnel, really at every phase of it? So as an example, the prospects to inquiries, well, that's the recruiting hangout. That drives prospects. Karen received 70 inquiries from the Google Hangout. You all are all getting prospects from different levels, from different fairs that you do. Those prospects become inquiries. And then what do you do with those inquiries once you have them? How do you drive them to an application? Well, you do a Google Hangout. There's one way, and there's certainly a ton of other ways, but you could do a Hangout on here's the application process. So that's the timely one. Just came back from a fair in India. You have a pocket full of people's names and what they want to study. You can now sign up for a Hangout. Once they're an applicant, they're not all going to come to your school. How can you continue to communicate with them and kind of drive them through that entire enrollment cycle? So again, we use Google Hangouts really is a tool to reach international students really at all levels. We do some for content, we do some really to help schools recruit, but all with it in mind that we want to create engaging, relevant content for our students that are using internationalstudent.com and give them the information they're looking for and so that they can find it later on. So with that being said, we will open this up to questions. So if anybody has questions, raise your hand, and we will also see if any of the remote audience has questions. And if the remote audience has questions, there's a little button on the right-hand side where it will say Q&A. You can click on that and then type them in, and we'll get to those questions as well. Yes. Yes.
attended one of the sessions yesterday on Chinese social media, and I wish that I had asked a question there. What sort of platform is there in Chinese social media for an equivalent to Google Hangout? Do you know of one? Obviously, I know the video can be posted to the YouTube or to Go, but is there a similar format for Chinese social media that you're aware of?
Gotcha. So the question is there a similar format, since Google Hangouts don't work in China? Is there a similar format that works in China? And I don't know the answer to that question, to be quite honest with you. I know there's certainly other things that they're using, the QQ and things along those lines, but I don't know of a direct platform.
I'm not aware of one.
And Emil doesn't know either. So. Yes, sir.
What about information that's maybe time, like taxes are only good for this year? Who knows what's going to be next year? So my fear is if it goes up to YouTube, you're in essence saying, giving them either inaccurate or out of date information. After, at some point, YouTube is old and it's got to get it. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Do you want to take that question?
Sure.
So let me just repeat the question. The question was, what happens if you put content up on YouTube like taxes that's relevant to this year? What happens next year if that becomes out of date and it's on YouTube?
And that is an ongoing concern. So you own the channel that these get uploaded to. So simply delete the file once it's done, or provide a link pointer in the video itself. You can edit the file on YouTube to the next year's tax information. That's usually the best way to do it. Or trim it to nothing and just have this information's been updated.
Yes.
Can we see where Google Hangout users are?
The question is, can you see where the Google Hangout users are all over the world? And I'll let Emil take that one too.
Sure. You can't see it directly, but you can. You do know who has seen your. In the back end of YouTube, you have an analytics screen that tells you what the breakdown by country is. Also, you get some rudimentary stats on gender, age, and a few other demographic.
So it's also means that we cannot view or get more data from the mobile.
No, you can't. Exactly. You're limited to what's available in their Google profile. So you can see that they watched it and then go to it, but you get some broad demographic information, not specific.
One of the other things that you can do with them, though, is since it's part of the Google Plus, we create circles for those students where we can continue to go back and communicate just with those people, as an example, that attended the Mississippi State Hangout. And you can do those as well. Do we have any remote questions by chance?
We do have remote questions.
So we're going to turn to some of the remote audience questions.
So the first question that we have from a remote audience member is, will this Hangout be available on YouTube after NAFSA? And yes, it will. It'll be on the Google Plus page. In your email, if you signed up for it, you had a link to it, and that link is alive forever. So, and it's also in our channel on YouTube. Let's see. What you can't see is there's in the Hangout itself, I select the question, it marks it in the playback so that when you come in later and look at those questions, you could just go through the list, click to that, and it'll jump the video straight to that question. There's another question about why use this Google Hangout instead of a GoToWebinar or other platform.
Well, I'll take that one unless somebody else wants to take it. Google Hangouts are one way to reach an audience. It's just like you need to be on multiple platforms. I heard somebody say the other day that email is dead. Email's not dead. It's just not the #1 most effective way to communicate with students. They're still checking email. You're going to get to a segment of your audience, or you're going to get to your entire audience. I would say the answer to that is with just email or just Google Hangouts. No. But it's a platform that allows you to reach an audience that will be using it. I would not stop using Skype. I would not stop using any of the other platforms that you're currently using, but I would put it kind of in your arsenal of things that you are using as an effective way to reach a portion of your audience. As an example, did Karen reach her entire universe of prospects in that Google Hangout? No, she reached 200 to 300 of them that happen to be on Google or using Google Hangouts. I think this gentleman over here had a question. I invited Emil to come along.
To integrate the audio and video portions of it, we can do PowerPoint presentations, video. We use another piece of software called vMix. It's software in the back end that we can load everything up, multiple cameras like you see here, things that don't normally work in a standard Hangout. We use some other pieces of technology to expand that reach. The software vMix, it's pretty reasonable price, but very effective. vMix, yes.
And the question for our remote audience was, how do we integrate the slides in the video? And that's a great question, because typically with Google Hangouts are relatively new for the world of Google. They're constantly changing. We've got to make sure that we have the most updated version, that we know exactly how to use their latest version. Video integration is not really easy, which is one of the reasons we said doing a standard Google Hangout is easy when you just have a remote audience, but to do things like what we're trying to do in this room is much more complicated, adding in other components as well. Yes?
Do you have a recommendation about what time, if you want a live audience in your Hangout, what's the best? Is it your office hour time, or what's the best?
Good question. So the question is, what is the best time to do a Google Hangout? We'll let Karen answer that one.
Well, unfortunately, it depends on where your audience is. I'm going to be doing this Google Hangout with India, so I'm going to be getting up probably at 1:30 in the morning to talk to them, because I have to make it convenient for them. I guess that's the key.
Yeah, I think there's no right answer to that other than you know who your audience is. If you're doing a global one, then it's very important to know that you're going to miss people. We get questions all the time, I can't make it, or people that say I can't make it. And so we send them the link afterwards so they can watch the recorded version. Yes?
I heard you talking about using a CRM. What kind of data are you collecting with these Google Hangouts, and what are you doing with that data?
I'll turn that over to the experts. So the question is, he heard us talking about CRM. So what kind of data is being collected in the CRM, and what is that information being used for?
So for us, we're using it as part of knowing where our students are coming from. If we can get that information on those times, it helps us also with the time of day where that was working. We might want to do one that's targeting our students that might be in Europe, and then we might do different ones that are targeting our students that are in Asia or Middle East. And then we use that for our communication flow as well. So if they attended the Google Hangout and then they went and checked out our profile, and then they continued on and asked for more information or made an inquiry, we can then put them into our communication flow so they continue to get our information about our school.
And that's the important thing about the Hangout too, is that you are encouraging those students to take the next step. For us, it's the recruitment process, so we want them to go ahead and submit an inquiry so that we can contact them later. So as long as the students take that next step, you have all the information that you need to contact them again. The Hangout alone is not going to give you all the data that you need. So that's important to keep in mind when you're actually presenting to the students.
Want to take a remote question?
Sure. We can do, yeah. So we got another remote question. Actually, it's remote feedback from somebody who is by the name of Dino Rodriguez, and I guess he's doing remote Hangouts recruiting. Somebody asked about what's the best time to start the Hangouts. He says that he's had the best results at 9:00 a.m. His time, which I would assume is Eastern, so that's when he's had the best luck with it. There's another question about people tend to be impatient with long videos. After these hour-long videos have been uploaded to YouTube, how often do viewers watch the entire video? So I track the analytics of the results of these YouTube videos pretty closely. In general, you never get 100% viewer. It just doesn't happen. An hour-long video with so many questions just doesn't keep people interested. What we do find is that using the questions, people will jump straight to a question that they have and get it answered. And it turns out for about a 40-minute video, which is usually what our Hangouts, people watch about 20 minutes of it afterwards. But they do watch 20 minutes of it, so we're pretty happy.
Enough to recognize here.
Question?
Yes, another question?
What's this? For the second piece of it,
Can we repeat the question?
Yeah, where does the which YouTube account does the video live on? It lives under the same account that started the Google Plus Hangout itself, and so there is a bit of a process to get a corporate page created on a Google Plus, but it does take some emailing back and forth and some time to get it done, but they will create a corporate page for you, and that's the account that the YouTube video lives under. Once you moved between accounts, it has to stay in a single account.
And the first question?
I'm sorry.
He answered.
Oh.
Did you get an answer to your first question? The corporate?
I'm sorry, I missed the first. Oh, how do you create it?
We're not a person, a school.
I can't remember the last time I did it.
I made one also for my husband has his own business, and we went on to Google Plus and we're able to create it right there as a business. So you can do it without being an individual person.
So the question was how to create.
Yeah, maybe they've changed the restrictions. Yeah.
What other questions? And I think we're done with the remote questions.
Yep, that's it.
Well, thank you for your time. We are here, up here for the next couple of minutes. If anybody wants to come up and ask us questions. Both Victoria and I are also in booth 1704 downstairs if you want to come and see us either later this afternoon or tomorrow morning. So I hope everybody enjoys the rest of NAFSA, the biggest and best one yet.